It's the sky. It's not just a call. It's a warning.
Oh, I think this looks good, boy. Now, sorry to potentially make you feel old, but can you believe it's been nearly 10 years already since the last solo Batman movie? That, of course, being 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. Obviously, since then, we have seen Bruce Wayne on our screens, with Ben Affleck playing the role in DC's confusing shared universe. And if you've been pining for a new Batman solo flick, then you won't be disappointed to hear that this one will be 3 hours long, which, unsurprisingly, makes it the longest solo Batman movie of all time. So be sure to time your pee breaks strategically when seeing this one in theatres. Which you can do, by the way, on March 4th. As usual, always double check the release date in your country. Speaking of Batfleck, this was originally going to be his Batman solo movie, and he was even touted to direct too. But since he left the project, the movie will be a standalone film set outside of the main DC EU timeline, just like how Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie was. Robert Pattinson, star of I imagine some weird Twilight fanfiction, will be the first actor portraying the Caped Crusader in a solo movie for the first time since, what do you call it when Batman skips church? Christian Bale. His casting was met with mixed reception in 2019, which is sort of unfair. The guy has literally not even been given a chance yet. But believe it or not, this has happened before, as the fan base did react poorly to Ben Affleck's casting as Bruce Wayne back in 2013, and even Heath Ledger's casting as Joker. And as we all know, that turned out to be a performance which has gone on to be considered legendary. I always had a feeling it was going to work out well with Robert Pattinson, and I really hope I'm proved right. I kind of like the fact that the choice seemed to be from left field. So, as usual, I'm going to slap a big spoiler alert tag on this. I don't know if anything I'm about to say will 100% happen in this movie. It's all a mix of theories, potential leaks, and things we do know. But I don't want an angry mob coming after me after they've seen the movie saying, "You spoiled Alfred being the bad guy all along." Disclaimer, that is something that I just made up on the spot, and if that happens, 1, it will be dumb, and 2, maybe I'm psychic? Alright, so, simply titled The Batman. The official synopsis for this movie reads, The Batman is an edgy, action-packed thriller that depicts Batman in his early years, struggling to balance rage with righteousness as he investigates a disturbing mystery that has terrorized Gotham. Robert Pattinson delivers a raw, intense portrayal of Batman as a disillusioned, desperate vigilante awakened by the realization that the anger consuming him makes him no better than the ruthless serial killer he's hunting. Now, the big old nerds out there who could choose Batman's comic book history as a mastermind topic believe this sounds very similar to the series The Long Halloween. This was a 13-issue miniseries that took place over an entire year that had Batman in his early days hunting down a serial killer who would murder one victim a month on a holiday. I don't mean somebody who was taking a holiday, I mean like Thanksgiving or Christmas, because who the fuck in their right mind would want to go on a vacation to Gotham? It's a crime-infested shithole. If you're not a fan of reading comic books or graphic novels or anything of the like, I'd suggest checking out the 2-part animated movie of this story that was only released in the summer of last year. I haven't seen it myself yet, but Rotten Tomatoes seem to think it's decent enough. Christopher Reeve, no, sorry, that was Superman. Matt Reeves, the director, who you may know from the most recent Planet of the Apes movies and other stuff, has not said anything about the similarities to The Long Halloween. He has said the movie will focus on Bruce Wayne's second year of wearing the cape, but he's not having the effect that he wants to have on Gotham, and it's getting right on his tits. And a series of murders start happening, and they tie into the history of the city. So he has expressed that this movie is not an origin story. Reeves said the movie does still touch on Batman's origins, but I still think it's unlikely that we will see Thomas and Martha Wayne die in that alley again. I imagine it'll be a bit like in Spider-Man Homecoming, when they just mentioned his origins briefly, so we don't have to watch the spider bite or Uncle Ben die again. And just like with Spider-Man, I think it's fine to take for granted that the audience already know how this character came to be. And I don't think casual fans care. They see Batman, they know what to expect and what his deal is. For example, Batman vs Superman probably still would have made as much money even without a Superman origin movie coming before it. Speaking of his parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, in this movie Bruce will learn more about Gotham's corruption and how his family fit into that mess. For those of you who have played the Batman Telltale games, which I highly recommend, you'll remember that's a big plot point in that story too. So, this will be a mystery story. Batman is the world's greatest detective after all, and I'm excited to see that play out on screen, because that is one of my favourite aspects of the Batman character, one that I don't think any Batman movie has ever really explored so far. And if you haven't played the games, watched the animated stuff, or read the comics, then you might not be aware of how big a part of Batman's job is being a detective. That might explain why Robert Pattinson said before he started filming for this movie he had no idea that Batman was a detective. In an interview with GQ, he said, "I feel like an idiot because I didn't even know that Batman was the world's greatest detective. I hadn't heard that in my life before, but it really plays. Just because there's a lot of stuff where he's in amongst the cops. Normally when you see Batman, he arrives and beats people up, but he's having conversations and there are emotional scenes between them, which I don't think have been in any of the other movies." In that same interview, he went on to talk about the opening scene of the movie. He described it as jarring, and that confirmed that it absolutely differs from the Batman movies we have seen in the past. He also said it was always Matt Reeves' vision to do a 70s noir detective story. I kind of assumed that meant the mood board or something, the look of it, but from the first shot it's, oh, this is actually a detective story. I'm just hoping Matt Reeves didn't miss the opportunity to turn around and say, "Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. World's greatest detective, my arse." The Riddler is back, baby!
The Riddler.
No, not you, Jim. Again, speaking how different this is going to be from the other films, this absolutely will not be a portrayal of the Riddler like Jim Carrey's in 1995. Once again, to bring up the Telltale games, Riddler was a much more seriously taken villain in that version of the character, killing people in brutal ways and a very calculated genius. Paul Dano is the man playing the villain in this film. As I mentioned earlier, he'll be a very dangerous serial killer. He's actually going to be based on a real-life serial killer who was dubbed the Zodiac Killer. Who was the Zodiac Killer, you ask? Well, if I knew that, I'd be telling the police instead of my millions of fans on YouTube. So he was a murderer from Northern California throughout the late 1960s, and his true identity was never discovered. Even to this day, amateur detectives try to solve this mystery. There's a long-running internet joke it was American politician Ted Cruz for some reason, because people just hate him, I guess. I don't know. He isn't, by the way, and that has been proven. But this version of the Riddler essentially is. And I mean, just look at him. He's fucking terrifying. Now, this costume obviously doesn't scream
The Riddler,
but that's kind of the point. It's a more grounded and DIY look. In an interview with Empire, Paul Dano himself said, "I think the potential DIY element was actually scarier to me than the more sophisticated or composed designs we might have played with. I found working with the costume to be very powerful. When you put on something like that, there's a way to let it speak to you and tell your body something. There's a way to let it have a life of its own." Now, this suit did get a mixed reaction as well. I personally really like it. I completely agree with Paul Dano that the DIY element is way scarier than a dude being dressed in an over-the-top green suit with purple gloves and a bowler hat. But ever since I saw some people say it looked like the pimp from Pulp Fiction, I can't unsee it. And now you probably can't either. You're welcome. The biggest takeaway for me from the final trailer is that it revealed the Riddler knows Batman's identity.
oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. Bruce Wayne.
My absolute favourite thing about the Riddler, though, will forever be that he was debuted in the comics by two guys named Bill Finger and Dick Sprang. Now, before we go on to a character who makes my dick sprang...
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart.
I'm sorry, that was inappropriately too far, but that joke was right there and I had to do it. If that joke even worked. I'm just an idiot. Before we go on to Catwoman, I want to talk about an insane rumour that the Joker will be appearing in this film. Remember that lovable Irish guy from the Eternals? The actor, Barry Keoghan, I'm sorry if I butchered his surname by the way, is already listed in the film's credits as Stanley Merkel, which is an anagram for Joker. Oh wait, no it's not, never mind. Stanley Merkel is listed as a Gotham police agent, which is what the Joker was in the original comics. No, again, sorry, that's just me being annoying and demonstrating what us fans are like when it comes to these things. So in the comics, Stanley Merkel is Commissioner James Gordon's partner. However, Twitter page The Batman Film News released an image where we see Barry Keoghan is not listed as Stanley Merkel, but is in fact as an unseen Arkham prisoner. For those who don't know, Arkham refers to Arkham Asylum, which is a prison/mental institution for the criminally insane. So naturally, the Joker has a returning loyalty card there. Now, the prosthetics designer Mike Marino is credited for working on the makeup of the Penguin, we'll get to him in a moment, and the character listed as Unseen Arkham Prisoner. Now, I'm something of a detective myself, and therefore ask, why would the actor playing a simple right-hand man to the Commissioner be needing a prosthetic? Double? Now, He might have been a likeable guy in The Eternals, but Gary Keown starred in a 2017 movie called The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I haven't seen, but his performance in it is supposedly a thing of nightmares, meaning people believe he is fully capable of playing somebody as insane and dramatic as the Joker. I've got to say, I feel sorry for any bloke who takes on the role as the Joker. I can't think of any other part that gets so much critique and scrutiny. You always remember for your performance one way or the other. And listen, I'm a firm believer in you like what you like and nobody can tell you any different. If you love Adam West Batman more than anything else in life, more power to you. Who am I to tell you what to love? Just make yourself happy. But somebody please try to convince me why you love Jared Leto's Ellen DeGeneres pimp-style Joker so much. I'm still struggling with that one. I really can't see it. I know there's not many of you who do love it, but those people do exist. Alright, so the Penguin, who I genuinely thought was Omar from Come Fly With Me when I first saw the trailer. Irish Hollywood star Colin Farrell is playing Oswald Cobblepot for this one. You may not have ever recognised that it was him from all the prosthetics he has on. I'll tell you who else didn't recognise him either. People in a random Starbucks in Burbank, California. Colin Farrell was revealed that he once visited a Starbucks with his penguin prosthetics on, and nobody recognised him, despite getting a couple of stares from people. His looks aren't the only change to expect. Again, with this movie, expect a different take on the character, courtesy of IGN. Aside from the obvious change in the looks department, Farrell is expected to deliver a very different take on the Oswald Cobblepot character. In fact, he recently drew comparisons between his version of the Penguin and Fredo Corleone from The Godfather, explaining how he used Corleone as a bit of a reference. However, maybe don't get too excited if you're a big fan of the Penguin. It sounds like he'll be more of a side character in this movie, a secondary villain for sure. Rumour has it he'll actually be in only about 5 or 6 scenes in this entire movie. This is because he will not be the iconic Penguin villain we know and love just yet. Oswald will be on his way to becoming the Penguin, and this one sounds like more of an origin story for him. So I said earlier about how this was a standalone film set outside of the main DCEU timeline continuity, but it seems like they are still looking to expand the Robert Pattinson universe already, the Pattinverse, if you will, as Penguin is already getting a spin-off series. So that is why I imagine we will see his true transformation from Oswald Cobblepot to the Penguin. Similar to what was seen in the TV series Gotham, which I always thought was one of the best parts of that show, was Penguin's character development and exploring who he is as a person on a deeper level. So I guess he just makes his present known and blows some stuff up in this movie and then just waddles off to somewhere like HBO Max. Or maybe it's a prequel and he is more prominent in a sequel movie or some shit. I don't know. Look, just go look it up yourself, okay? I can't do everything. I've got to try and keep this video under 20 minutes. So, now it's time to talk about Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz, who you may remember from another superhero film, she was Angel in X-Men First Class. She's actually said Catwoman is the only superhero role she has considered since that movie in 2011. So, I know I've lumped Catwoman in with the villains here, but she has always been in a sort of grey area.
Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain. Maybe I am.
She isn't against Batman, she's usually on his side when the shit hits the fan, but at the end of the day, she is a thief, and obviously that goes against Batman's beliefs. We're going to see more of Catwoman's origins in this movie. Zoe Kravitz has said, we usually meet Catwoman and it's either a very quick transformation, an overnight thing, or she's already there. And so to find the emotional journey that brings her to the place where she is making the choice to be this person is what I'm really excited about. The most recent trailer was even named by Warner Brothers themselves as The Bat and the Cat. It shows that they have a similar relationship to what Batman and Catwoman have had throughout their characters' history, as I said. Bruce being unsure he can trust her, but also he's met another person who is into parkour and tightrope cosplay.
Friend of yours? I'm not so sure.
They both seem to be young and again early in their careers as Batman and Catwoman respectively, so I think in a way they'll instantly relate and connect because they're both at the same stage of life in this crazy superhero world. Alright Governor, let's talk about how the Butler did it, shall we? I can literally only think of one movie, that being Black Panther, where I've seen Andy Serkis not in a motion capture suit. You all know him even if you think you don't. The dude is the king of motion capture roles. He's been Gollum, Caesar in Planet of the Apes, King Kong, Captain Haddock in Tintin, Supreme Leader Snoke, Baloo in Jungle Book, and a demented clown in a short video called Horror Show that I found. Not a clue what the fuck that is. Again, look it up yourself, stop relying on me to do it all. But look, I think it's fair to say he's regarded as maybe the best mocap actor in the world. And that is why they have cast him as Alfred, because he's going to be a big monster at the end of the movie in a motion capture suit and be revealed as the main villain all along. Ha ha! I was right.
I'm the world's greatest detective.
Or I am just psychic after all.
You're a fucking idiot.
Andy Serkis might be too, by the way, because he already is saying that this movie is going to be a masterpiece. He says this is because with Matt Reeves as director, it's almost a guarantee. But then again, he did work with him on the Planet of the Apes series, and they're probably good mates. So I'm also world's greatest detecting some bias here. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Alfred in this movie. Andy Serkis is like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking tell you either. He didn't say it that way, but he's hardly revealed much. Other than Alfred will be like a father figure and all that expected stuff. Yeah, whatever, let's just move on. I think the first thing I ever really saw to do with this movie was the Batmobile from some early set photos. Matt Reeves once again piped up and said, the Nolan films established the Batmobile as a tank, which was a brilliant idea, but I thought, wouldn't it be cool if this guy is a loner and gearhead and fashioning these things by himself? So it's recognisable as a car this time, but it's like a muscle car, one that he's made himself. Again, with it taking place during the early days of Bruce Wayne's vigilante career, I think it makes perfect sense for him to be tinkering with the Batmobile as he tweaks and improves it as time goes on. Even though he's a billionaire, and if that was me, I'd probably think, fuck it, I'm buying a tank.
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
Reeves has also gone for a much more grounded approach with the Batcave too. He said, the new Batcave is based on a secret underground railway that still exists in New York. The idea being that some of these wealthy industrialist families had private train cars at the turn of the century. Again, I like it, but still, if I was a billionaire, I'd probably have some Area 51 type underground empire secret base thing. Something way over the top anyway, you know, like at the side of a mountain like Dr. Evil had and Austin Powers. So Robert Pattinson actually did the audition in George Clooney's suit. Unfortunately, not because they wanted to bring back the bat nips, crotch, stiff neck and thick Batman. Robert Pattinson's head was just too big for any of the other suits, and the old Clooney one was just the best match for him. Thank you if you have made it all the way to the end of this video. That either means you're as hyped about all of this as I am, or you just have a thing for British ASMR. But either way, I'd really appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video and subscribed, and maybe even turn on the bell end thing. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and the gram. I'm at Mr. J Ryan everywhere. Let me know in the comments down below what you think will happen in this movie. Did I miss any important details out? Let us know. But I hope you have a great day, night, whatever it is where you are. Have a good one.